So yes, let's go. A little bit about me. My name is Filippo Dall'Asta. I was born in Italy and lived in London for a long time now. I'm a guitar player, obviously. I've been playing music since 27 years now, because I started playing the piano when I was 5 years old and then moved on to guitar when I was 13 years old. So I've been occupied with music for a long time. And I studied music in Italy, France, Germany, Holland, UK, and India as well for a short while. And I've been a teacher for 15 years. And I've taught thousands of students all over the world. Now, since I started playing, my desire was always to be an excellent guitarist. And I always wanted to be the best at what I do. But I always felt that there was way too many things to practice and really didn't know where to start. And so I ended up feeling really stressed and beating myself up for not getting the results that I wanted. And I went into a strange circle of feeling I wasn't good enough and all that crap that came with it, really. And at some point, I even felt like I should maybe stop playing music. So that's where I was at some point. I didn't know where to start, what to practice, how to practice. I was practicing for more than 3 hours a day at some point, sometimes even more, and really not getting any results, or not much, or not the results that I wanted anyways. And I felt that my progress was very slow and I was going nowhere. So this went on for a few years. But then I was lucky enough to have a very significant chat with my grandfather. My grandfather left us only a couple of years ago, and he was a violin player for all his life. And he died at 104. And until the end, he was very lucid. He knew who everybody was. He played music until the very end. And one day I was having a chat with him, telling him that I was feeling so stressed and so concerned about where my music was going. I couldn't get the results that I wanted. I felt really lost and was getting frustrated. I was feeling that I wasn't good enough. So I told him all that. And he said, listen, music is exactly what kept me so young in my brain. The reason why, I'm still here, I'm still lucid, I can think straight, is because I played music all my life. So think of it as a journey. Don't beat yourself up because you're not good enough. That's really not the point. The point is to enjoy the journey. And us as musicians are actually really lucky because we have this passion. We have this passion of playing music. We always want to get better. There is always something to do. So if anything, the amount of stuff that we can practice is a blessing. Is really a new studio. Yeah, true that. So what we do is really a blessing, and we should really enjoy the journey and not feel stressed about what we do. The fact that we'll never end practicing is actually a massive plus for us, because we'll never be bored. We'll always have something to do. So he told me all that, and it was a huge epiphany for me. After that, I decided that I would enjoy the journey, accept that it was going to take a long time. And my plan then was to understand that that was the beauty of it. So I decided to learn how to maximize my practice time and how to set some long-term goals and a clear plan on how to achieve them. And so this is what we will talk about in this masterclass. So if you can all see the PDF, we'll get started with when to practice. So I decided to divide this masterclass into 3 parts, which is when to practice, how to practice, and what to practice. So we will start with when to practice. I hope you'll all enjoy it and you'll find something useful from it. And hopefully after this masterclass, you'll have clearer goals and you'll know what to practice and why you want to do it. Have you heard of this thing called the Eisenhower matrix? Anyone heard of it? Feel free to type in the chat box if you've heard of it at all. Great stuff, great stuff. I actually heard about it from a book called The 7 Habits of Highly Successful People. And it's actually a huge topic. But cut long story short, this guy in this book suggests to divide things that we have to do in our lives into 4 quadrants. So we can divide them between urgent, not urgent, important, and not important. So as you can see in that drawing, we have something can be urgent and important, or not urgent but important, urgent and not important, and not urgent and not important. So when with guitar practice, it definitely falls into the category of urgent, important but not urgent, right? To us, it's a very important thing to do. We want to practice, we want to get better, but it doesn't really feel like urgent. Urgent is a phone ringing, or I have to eat, or I have to take my kids to school. That's urgent. But definitely with guitar practice, same like, for example, with sports as well. Those things are important and but not urgent. So with anything that's important but not urgent, the advice is to do it first thing in the morning. If we don't do it first thing in the morning, chances are we won't get it done at all. So obviously, depending on one's schedule, when possible, do it first thing in the morning. If you don't do it as soon as you can, the chances that you won't do it at all increase by 80%. So as soon as you're ready to start your day, after breakfast, shower, and so on, practice guitar for at least 30 minutes or more if you can. By doing it the first thing in the morning as well, you will make sure it gets done and you feel great about yourself. And on top of that, your brain is a lot more capable of learning in the morning, so your practice will be much more productive anyways. So, and here comes the second point, which is to wake up earlier. So this is obviously not for everyone. We all have different schedules, but it depends. You know, if you, obviously, I'm not suggesting you deprive yourself of sleep, but 8 hours of sleep are enough usually, 7-8 hours. For me, 7 are enough, really. So if you sleep a lot more than that, you can definitely wake up earlier without affecting your health and well-being. Well, I also did some math there, which was kind of fun. 30 minutes more a day mean 3 more hours a week. Assuming you want to sleep in 1 day or 2, let's say you wake up 30 minutes earlier 5 days a week, that's 2.5 more hours a week, 10.85 more hours in a month, which is 130 more hours in a year. So if we wake up earlier and do stuff, it's 5 extra days in a year that we get, which is kind of cool. Right, again, when to practice is important, but also to practice regularly. This should go without saying, but practicing a little bit every day is way more efficient than practicing for 6 hours on a day and then nothing for the rest of the week. I don't know, can you guys relate to that? Do any of you practice regularly? Or do you feel like you prefer to practice a lot on a day and then you end up doing nothing for a few days? You can chat, not in the morning, yeah. Anybody else? For me, I find, for example, oh, that's great. That's very good. Sticking with a practice schedule has always been a problem. That's great. Hopefully we can sort that out today with the masterclass. Long stretches didn't work for me. That's great, exactly. I find for me, life can be quite busy in general. So 30 minutes a day, if we do it every day, can actually be plenty. It really depends on our schedules. I think 1 hour a day is a lot. It's great. It's a lot in a good way. 2 hours a day is also great. It really depends what our schedule is and what our priorities are. Obviously, if we want to be the best guitar players who ever existed, half an hour a day are not going to cut it. But do we want to do that? It depends. There is a healthy way of wanting to be the best, which we'll go through later in this masterclass as well. But all I'm trying to say is very personal. But let's try to make it regular, and that's gonna change things a lot, just by adding some regularity. So also say you have 10 things that you want to work on. Say scales, arpeggios, improvisation, and so on. But you only have 30 minutes a day. What I do is focus on a couple of things one day, and then the next 2 or 3 things the next day, then the next 2 or 3 things the next day again, and so on. So this was the first part, which is when to practice. If we want to do a quick recap, is we have that quadrant, which is we define practicing as being important but not urgent. So basically try to do it as soon as you can. The earlier you do it, some of us will be able to do it in the morning, some not. But the earlier we do it, the better it is, because if we don't, chances that we don't do it will be quite high, because again, it's not urgent. So first thing in the morning is best, or as soon as we can. And also to practice regularly. Now for the second part on how to practice. This is a massive one. It's a huge one. I can't stress this enough. This point is huge. To switch off all distractions. How many of you already do that? I'd really like to know. I'm very curious. How many of you already switch off all distractions when they practice? That's a good one. TV off straight away. Yeah, I wouldn't really recommend having the TV on, but thanks for being honest. Not very well so far, which is why I'm restarting my learning. Really well done for that. It's great to have a passion and to cultivate it. Devices are off when playing, yes. So this has been, since I decided to commit to it, this has been a game changer. It's really, I think my productivity boosted by 40% by having no distractions on. And what I mean is, first thing I do on my computer, I close all apps that are likely to send a notification. Email, Skype, social media, anything that beeps. Basically, I close everything that is irrelevant to your practice. Another good one is to put your phone on Do Not Disturb. Now, I have an iPhone. I never used an Android, but I'm pretty sure there's a similar thing for Android phones, which is the Do Not Disturb function. The beauty about this is not airplane mode, is Do Not Disturb, which is very different. So on an iPhone, you can set it so that you can set some favorite numbers and favorite contacts, so that when they call you, your phone will still ring. So that covers, for example, emergencies, or if your kids want to call you, or your wife, or your family. Then you customize it so that they are favorite numbers, and your phone will ring when they call you. Another way of doing it is setting it up so that your phone will ring if anyone calls you 2 times within 5 minutes. Again, so if it's important, they'll probably call you twice. So you will still be available in case of an emergency. So the Do Not Disturb thing, again, is quite big, because you can still have no notifications from your phone, still feeling good about it, as in, if there is an emergency, your phone will still ring. Also, practicing to resist the urge of checking your emails, social media, etc. will create a space in your day where you have the time and energy to focus on yourself, which is really beautiful. And it's something we miss nowadays because we have a lot of, our attention is always to the outside. It's really rare to find a time when we can focus to the inside. And having that little space in your day where, with no notifications, no social media, no phone, is really powerful, I think. Yes, Mortimer, this is a good one, and I want to thank you for that because I definitely want to add this to my next masterclass. Old school mechanical metronome instead of an app. Or do you guys know? Do you guys remember those small Korg metronomes? Yeah, those are really good as well. It means you, yeah, it means you don't have to use a metronome on your app. Amazing, amazing. I love those ones. It's those little blue ones. And someone mentioned their family before. You can't switch off your family. That's Rafal. If you live with someone, if you've got family, you can always try. I know it's not always possible, but you can always try to let them know, listen, I'm going to practice. Can you leave me alone for a bit? So that's something, you know, a little thing you can do that maybe can help. And here's our next point, which is to use a metronome. Oh, that's great. Practice in the evening when everyone is out. That's very good. Again, I still think because it's one of the last things you do, then there's a high chance something will happen and you don't get to do it. But again, I understand everybody's schedule is different. So it's good that you found your own little space to practice. It's great. So to use a metronome, now we know it has to be a mechanical metronome or one of the Korg little ones. Why is it so important? So these are a few points that I laid out myself about practicing with the metronome, and is one of the most powerful tools that we can have, I think. Why? The metronome will improve your timing, helps you build speed. It will reduce the tendency to rush or drag the tempo. I don't know if you guys can relate to that, but when practicing without a metronome or playing live without a metronome, it's so easy to go off time. Also, the great thing about it, it gives us a sense of progress when practicing because we can keep track of how fast we go and how much we've increased in, say, a week or 2 weeks or a month. That's very good. They also say whatever you track improves. Also, it helps you to slow down, which is very important as well. So it's easy to tell you to practice at a much slower pace, but most people's tendency, was there a dog? Most people's tendency is to start practicing a song slowly and then speed up, as I was just mentioning. So the metronome gives you a feedback straight away. If you speed up or slow down, you notice straight away. The metronome also clearly indicates whether you're improving or not. Without it, you'll be just practicing the same song over and over again without knowing whether you're actually playing it faster and cleaner or not. With the metronome, your progress can be tracked by the speed at which the metronome is going. Since you can also increase the speed gradually, with the metronome, you'll also be forced to focus on the cleanliness of your playing. Watch the movie Whiplash to learn more about leading or dragging the tempo. I haven't watched it, but I think there was a snippet that was going around Facebook for a while. The funny one with the teacher getting really pissed off about dragging the tempo. That was funny. But I'd like to watch the movie, actually. It's supposed to be an amazing movie. Yeah, it's good. And also I always practice with a metronome my whole life. The metronome teaches you a sense of rhythm. It's really important. You end up, by using the metronome a lot, you end up developing an internal clock, they call it, or an internal metronome. So after a while, your sense of timing and your sense of rhythm will be so good. which means that if you'll be playing in a band situation or in a live context, people will love playing with you. Rhythm is much more important than harmony and melody, because without a good rhythm section, a band usually sounds shit. So musicians with a good sense of rhythm are generally much more fun to play with, because it's easier to lock into their groups. Do any of you play with a band, or have played with a band in the past? Your son is a drummer. That's good. Nice one. So your practice session should be done with a metronome, definitely. When you play scales, arpeggios, warm-up licks, I'm not suggesting you do the whole practice session with a metronome, because that becomes a bit too stiff, you know. It gets really boring, really. We will touch on that as well later on, but practice shouldn't just be plain boring stuff or difficult stuff. It should also be fun. We'll touch on that later on. But some of your practice should always be with the metronome. And I know some of us hate it, but we can really learn how to love it. Exactly. That's another good point of a metronome. Working with a metronome really helps in the studio. When you record, you always need a metronome or a click track in your earphones. So, you know, obviously, you need to be able to do it. Okay, next one, number 3. Use a music stand. This sounds so simple and dull, and maybe it doesn't seem so big, but for me, it was huge, actually. I didn't realize how huge it was going to be until I tried it. If you think about it, most of us probably practice by a table, and having our sheets in front of us means we have to bend down and slug down and watch these sheets, and the focus and the posture is really not the same. With a music stand, our sheet is in front of us, so it means your back is straight, your energies are all in the right place when your back is straight. When you slug down, you really don't feel good, if you notice. Having a straight back will make you more comfortable and relaxed in the long run, which will give you a lot more focus. So do try it. If you don't use a music stand now, do give it a go. It's going to make a difference. Obviously, we want to maximize our practice in order to become better players. So why not try everything possible to improve it? Every little helps. I don't feel the weight of the guitar after a while, because I don't practice with a strap. I'm mostly playing acoustic guitar nowadays, and it just rests on my knee. So I don't feel the weight of the guitar. How many of you play electric guitar here? Can I know? I'd really like to know. Please tell me who of you plays electric and who plays acoustic. Rafael plays electric, trying to learn both. Anyone else? Electric, male acoustic, some resonator. Oh, I love resonator guitar. Little electric. So you guys just gave me actually an idea for to integrate in my next masterclass, which is actually to talk about electric and acoustic when we practice. So I have an acoustic and an electric, but I would like to learn electric more. Okay. So something one of my old teachers told me is that you should always practice how you're going to play live. So if you're going to stand when you're going to play live, then practice by standing. Practice in the same position that you're going to be when you perform live, because your wrist angle is going to be different. Your head is going to be looking from a different angle. So definitely, if you're going to be playing by standing, then practice standing. Obviously, when you get tired, if you've got problems with your back, then that's obviously different. It means you're going to have to sit down, you know. But That's also a big one. I'll have to squeeze it in my next masterclass, definitely. So thank you guys for your feedback. I really appreciate it. It makes it a lot of fun for me as well to read about everyone. And it's nice to have so many people on the call. Please, at any point, let me know if you have questions of any sort. Right, is everybody happy to move on? Let's do it. This is a massive one, huge. Record yourself and critique the recording. Does anybody of you do it? Anybody record themselves when they play, when they practice? I didn't do it for ages. Now I do it. Yeah, Mortimer says sometimes on the looper. Okay, that's something. Nowadays I do it about once a week. I record myself, and also I film most of my live performances so that I can look back at it. It is very humbling. It is very humbling, Mike. But also something really weird happens when I listen back to my live performances. For example, I remember playing some. I remember a moment of the gig maybe where I was playing something and I felt like, man, that was amazing. I really loved what I just did. I can't wait to listen back to it. And then I listened back to it and was like, man, this is shit. Why did I think it was good? But also the other way around happens. The other way happens where you play something live and in the moment you feel like, why did I play that? It was horrible. And then you listen back to it and you go like, actually, that wasn't too bad at all. So why record yourself and critique the recording? This is a technique that actors, journalists, teachers, motivators use. So why shouldn't we musicians do it? We all sound different than we think. If you ever recorded your own voice, you likely understand this. When the first time you hear your own voice recorded, you struggle to recognize yourself, and it's exactly the same with playing your instrument. You might think you're listening to yourself objectively, but when you press play, you notice you don't sound anything like you thought you did. Our ears lie, especially under pressure. So recording yourself playing and listening back to it is a great way to hear how you really sound and act accordingly. Of course, if you record yourself and then don't do anything about it, then there's no use. The point, of course, is to record yourself and critique the recording and be honest with yourself and say, how can I change that? What did I like about my playing? And what can I do to improve it? So as I suggested earlier, I'm not suggesting that you record your whole practice session, but from time to time, do record yourself playing a piece that you're working on, see how it sounds, and then, act accordingly and see how we can improve it. Right, the next point is to visualize. I'm gonna, about this, this is such a huge topic. I'm not an expert into visualization at all myself. I've tried it a fair bit, but I'm going to touch on this quite briefly because, well, first of all, I don't like to talk about things that I don't know about. So I'm going to be honest about it, and I'm not an expert here, but it's definitely, I reckon is massive. It could be a massive thing to focus on and to work on. And definitely something to explore. A lot of, not only musicians do it, the athletes do it, they visualize, public speakers visualize their speech before, the day before their performance. And, us musicians should definitely try it as well. So what can you visualize? Your sound, you can visualize a particular lick, exercise, or song. You can overcome difficult passages. You can visualize that. You can visualize effortless performance. Now, there are two ways of visualizing, or two types of visualization. One is when we don't have our instrument with us. So something quite fun is maybe in the tube or before going to bed, you think of a passage or a lick that you couldn't play, and then in your head you visualize yourself playing it and nailing it. So that's very powerful. In fact, they prove that when you visualize something, the same muscles and nerves engage in the activity, even if you're not actually doing it. So that's something quite powerful there. Also, the other way of doing it is when you actually have the instrument in your hands and you're practicing. So how do you visualize when you're practicing? Well, the idea is to follow your mental image with your physical playing. Yeah. So just before playing it, try to visualize it first. Say you're playing the, I don't know, A major scale or A melodic minor scale, whatever scale you're playing. Try to visualize it few milliseconds before and see it's gonna, this is something I do actually quite a bit, and it does make a massive difference. It really does help. Again, this area is so huge. It's worth exploring it. I won't stay long on this because, as I said, I'm not an expert, but definitely look into it. I'm sure there are plenty of YouTube videos you can look on the topic, and yeah, give it a go. And actually, why don't you? Rafael is typing something from your experience. Anyway, if you find out something about visualization that I have missed, send me an email and tell me about it. I'd always like to learn new stuff. If you guys want it. Okay, actually, let me pause for a second to answer to Rafael. What do you mean exactly a few milliseconds before you play something? Okay, so I look at my hands and at the guitar neck. When I'm practicing, I know what I want to play, be it a lick or a scale. Say I want to play a particular lick, so I try to visualize my finger do what it's going to do before I actually do it. So say I want to put my middle finger on fret 5 of the 6th string. I try to visualize that a few milliseconds before I actually do it. So, okay, was that clear? Amazing. So about visualization, I'm actually hugely interested about this topic. So if you guys know or find something about it or find a cool video, please send it to me. I love learning and finding out about new things. I'm typing in, amazing, please do. I'm typing in my email address here. Oh, amazing, amazing. You read about it, this for sports. Yeah, that's where I first came across it as well. So this is my email. Anyone can email me. You can also email me questions about the masterclass and stuff. Anyways, let's move on. Okay, this is my favorite one. Actually, I'm not going to show it yet. Aim to be the best. This sounds weird to most people, but I do think when you do something, when you practice something, you should aim to be the best in the world at what you do. And this is not an ego trip. This is not to feel better than others, because as we all know, music is not a competition like that. But let me show it. This is my personal view. So let me know your thoughts. But music is not a competition per se, but we are competitive beings. Being competitive and being the best is in our DNA. In fact, if you think about the way we were born, it takes only 1 out of 200 million sperm cells to fertilize a woman's egg. And we are the product of that winner sperm. So I know this can come across as a bit funny, which it is, and I don't mind. And it's also a bit of a weird comparison. But the point that I'm trying to make is that there is a competition that can be experienced in a positive and constructive way. So listen to this. Before 1968, everyone thought that running 100 meters in under 10 seconds was humanly impossible. That's why no one actually could do it. Then in 1968, the American Jim Hines, or Hines, however you pronounce it, showed the world that it was indeed possible and became the first man ever to run 100 meters in under 10 seconds. So from 1891 until 1968, no human being had ever been able to run 100 meters under 10 seconds. After Jim Hines broke the record, after he broke the 10 seconds barrier, the 10 seconds barrier was broken 142 times. This is amazing for me. So that means that when you reach the top, when you reach new height, when you can show the world that, you know, you can achieve the impossible, then you're taking everyone with you. Does that make sense? For me, this is why it is worth it to aim to be the best in the world, because by trying to be the best, we can do it in a healthy way, and we can be of service to our brothers trying to be good at their instruments. And we can be our art can be of service to the world. And we can be of service to the world by aiming to be the best, not as an ego thing, trying to be the best and feel better than others. This is not the point. Aim to be the best, to take everyone with you. Mortimer writes, in order to be the best, you have always to give the best you currently can, no matter how beginner or advanced you are. Exactly. Thank you. So, can anybody relate to that? Does any of you? Mike loves it. Thank you. I'm really happy you love it. I love it too. Anybody can relate to that? Anybody else? Any thoughts? Have you guys heard about this way of seeing things before? For me, this is really beautiful. Since I started looking at things this way, putting the practice in, and especially also about after that talk with my grandfather, practicing and trying to improve my instrument acquired a whole different taste and a whole different meaning to me. Now, sometimes I practice all day, and sometimes is a struggle. Sometimes practicing all day is like, oh man, I need so much discipline to do this, and it's so hard. But then I have a new meaning, and I have a new reason to do this, which is, I want to be the best, but because I want to add quality to the world. I want to take everyone with me. It's beautiful. Toby writes, true in all fields, a rising tide lifts all boats. Wow, this is beautiful. Yes, exactly. So hopefully this should give you some more insight and different reason to get better at what you do, which is obviously this applies to everything in life, doesn't it? It applies to be a nice person, applies to be a good dad, applies to be a good husband, a good golf player, a good at making origamis, anything, really anything. Right, let's move on, unless anybody has any questions. We are slowly coming to the conclusion of the second part, which is how to practice. Soon we'll get to what to practice, so I hope you're all still engaged and excited. A very exciting part is coming up. I feel very excited talking about this. Celebrate your successes and reward yourself. Right, this is great on a scientific level as well. Loads of studies have been done on this. It is so common to start a new habit only to quit in frustration a few days later. Why does this happen? We struggle because it's really hard to stay consistent when we don't see immediate results from our behavior change. Right? Does it make sense? The same goes if we're trying to lose weight, for example, if we're on a diet. We struggle to be consistent on our diet because we don't see the immediate results. It is important to reward yourself as soon as you complete a key task or objective. This could be each time you complete a practice session, or each time you learn a new song, or nail a new lick, or learn a new chord, or anything. So why? By rewarding yourself in the moment, your brain elicits positive emotions. Really important. Leading to the realization that your efforts result in a positive reward. This is massive. By doing this continuously, your brain will start to link pleasure to accomplishing the task or objective. So you will end up wanting to do it. If you reward yourself we'll see how to reward yourself in a second. But if you reward yourself every time you practice, every time you learn a new song, your brain will learn that, oh, okay, this action leads to pleasure. You understand? It doesn't lead to the pain of, oh shit, I have to sit down and practice. This actually leads to pleasure. So your brain will automatically think, yes, let's go practice. I can't wait. Your rewards don't have to be big or expensive, of course. A small reward is a great motivator. Actually, probably in my next masterclass, I want to do a list of ideas for rewards. Yes, Rafael, exactly. It's the same how addiction works, because the way we can't stop an addiction. You know, our brains link that particular thing to pleasure. I was smoking cigarettes for 15 years, I think, and I stopped 2 years ago. I haven't had a cigarette since, and the way I stopped has been exactly this, by trying to train my brain to associate not smoking with pleasure rather than with pain. But anyways, right, so rewards. What is a reward? It's anything that brings you pleasure. A coffee break, you know, maybe a coffee break is something you weren't really planning to do, but is the volition, is the intention you do things. So if your brain is in the area or like, okay, I'm gonna have a break, this is my reward now, I'm gonna really enjoy a nice cup of coffee or tea, whatever, just in the kitchen on my own and sip it nicely, you know what I mean? Or it could be a walk around the block, or take yourself to an art gallery, watch a movie at home, buy your favorite sweets, or a couple of days off. And plus, this really adds value to your life in general. If you think about it, if anytime you accomplish a task, if every time you do that, then you reward yourself, then imagine how much pleasure is going to be in your life. You know, like the whole day is going to be filled with, okay, yeah, I'll struggle for a bit, or like, I'll sit down and put some discipline in, but then I'll have a nice time. Then, you know, your brain will be filled with positive emotions, positive feelings, pleasure. It's really great. And I don't think we do this enough. I think we're really good at beating ourselves up. I think we're really good at that. But, you know, trying to rewire your brain to reward yourself, just be nice to yourself, you know, it's really good. This is the same story about my grandfather that I said at the beginning, but I want to say it again. I want to stress it again because it's massive. Don't feel stressed about the amount of things you can practice, because that's the beauty of it. Yeah, that's the beauty of having a passion, learning an instrument. Means we will never be bored. There will always be something to do. We will never finish practicing. There is not an end line to the day where you think, oh, I practiced everything, I know everything, will never come. Never. And that's the beauty of it, isn't it? It means you'll always have something to do, always have something to get better at. That's the beauty of playing an instrument for me. Right, so finally, what to practice? Are you guys excited? First of all, some general rules. Rafael says yes, Mortimer uha, Mark says yes, amazing. Yes, Mike, let's do it. Right. First of all, some general rules. By the way, this section will require some pen and paper. We'll get it out in a bit. But for now, what to practice? Right. I think there are some musts, some things we must practice. One, always start with a warm-up routine. Quick 5-10 minutes. If you've got less, 2 minutes, 3 minutes is very important. Yeah. This might include scales, arpeggios, techniques you're working on, but something, excuse me, something to start playing slowly, get your hands warm. This helps preventing injury. Yes, Rafa, go ahead. Feel free to ask any questions. Okay, are you talking about the times that I gave right now, the 5 minutes warm-up? Okay, it's really personal, you know. Some of us don't have 60 minutes. So try it and see what's best for you. When it comes to warming up, if you know you're gonna have to sit down for 20 minutes and you know you've got 20 minutes, you've got your distractions off, you've got the telly switched off, it's just you and your practice time. And so, okay, I've got 20 minutes. I wouldn't put 10 minutes in warming up, you know. If you've got 60 minutes, maybe, yeah, 10 minutes is good. So I hope that makes sense. But nonetheless, always warm up before because it helps prevent injury. It's like working out. You have to warm up before working out. It helps prevent injury. If you injure yourself playing the guitar, you can get RSI, you can get repetitive strain injury. I've got friends who unfortunately got it, and you know it's not nice at all. And we want to keep playing for all our life, so we need to think in the long term. So you know, keep our hands healthy and be healthy, really. So that's why warming up is really important. Another general rule. Practice what you cannot do and don't just play what you already can do. It is good to play what we can already play well, of course, but when it comes to real practice, we need to practice what we cannot do well. Focusing on our weaknesses forces us out of our comfort zone. Are you guys familiar with the concept of comfort zone? Being in or out your comfort zone? Yeah. Great. So why is it good to stay out of your comfort zone? Because yep, got it, not there yet with guitar says though, but yeah, of course, but it applies to everybody everywhere in life, you know. So being out of our comfort zone means our focus will be very sharp because we're not comfortable, right? If we are comfortable, then we doze off. We can think about other stuff. But being out of our comfort zone really increases our focus. So there is a Yerkes-Dodson law. I don't know if you've heard of it. Feeling comfortable does zero for your growth. If you're coasting your own ways, you'll do the bare minimum. To make progress, you need to feel a little pressure. Some uneasiness might be just what you need to take it to the next level. So the burst of stress, obviously we're talking about a healthy stress, from stepping outside the comfort zone, doesn't just create a hurry up effect, but it also improves focus, creativity, drive, and working memory. So you should always try to be outside your comfort zone a little bit. And then what happens is the more you're outside your comfort zone, the more your comfort zone grows. That means you're able to play stuff that you weren't able to play before. And then your comfort zone will be bigger and bigger and bigger. And then you always step up the game and always try to be outside of it a little bit. Another important one, ask for help or tips from other guitarists or musicians. This one tends to be to get really overlooked by most of us, but seeking out the opinion and advice of someone who is currently playing the way you want to be is one of the fastest ways to figure it out. And here I'm talking about experts, right? So a guitarist that you really admire, a guitarist that you really want to sound like. You know, some of us feel intimidated, but by starting a conversation with someone who you may think is famous or busy, but there are actually ways of getting that conversation started. I tried it a lot of times and it always worked. So how to get that conversation started with someone that can maybe help you out and help you figure out something that you cannot understand, or how to play, or theory, or it can be anything. So social media has made it easier than ever to reach out to experts. I think the best players are the ones that will help you out most sincerely, because they won't be worried of you stealing their ideas. Right? Does it make sense? Remember, just before we talked about aiming to be the best. People who are the best, or people who are at the very top of their skills and their career, understand that, you know, people who are the best at what they do know that they are there for everyone to go with them, to help everyone, to be to inspire other people to be great at what they do. So they really usually don't mind sharing their knowledge with you. So how to do it? Briefly explain who you are. Context is always helpful. It can be, hi, I'm Mike, I'm Rafael, whatever. I'm a guitarist. I live here. I live in the US. I live in Ukraine. I don't know. I'm writing to you because I love what you do, and I'm trying to figure out this thing. So doing so will humanize you. Yeah. So it obviously won't come across as spam or anything like that. You know, you will look like a person asking a genuine question. Flattery is very important. Who doesn't love hearing what they do is appreciated? Try to be as specific as you can. Of course, it doesn't have to be a lie. If you admire someone, it's very easy to be honest with them and tell them, man, I think you're awesome. I love this album of yours. I love this song of yours. By doing so, they will know that you're already familiar with their work, and this will make the conversation a lot easier for you. So remember, this is a shortcut that can save you hours, if not years, of practice. Asking the right question to the right people will usually get you where you want a lot faster than trying to figure it out yourself, and save you a lot of time. Have some fun as well. This is the last general rule before we go into our writing exercise to figure out what we have to practice. Have fun. One thing that struck me when I was learning English, I'm Italian by origin, as you can probably tell by my accent. So in Italian, to play music and to play a game is two different words for the verb to play. Learning English, I realized the verb to play music and to play a game is the same verb. Thank you. To play is one word. You can say to play a game and to play music, and it's the same verb. I was like, wow, it blew my mind. It means, so music is fun. Playing music is like playing a game. So I did realize it's supposed to feel like fun. Of course, as we talked about it before, we need to struggle to get better, but the skill to keep enjoying it and to keep enjoying playing our instrument is a skill that needs to be developed as much as technique, theory, etc. I know so many people, myself included at some point, hopefully it's not like that anymore. Actually, sorry, luckily it's not like that anymore. Myself included, felt so stressed about this whole thing and about having to practice, and I really have to nail that scale, and it wasn't fun. And I had to relearn how to have fun with my guitar. And having fun with our instrument is a skill. It is an actual skill. So we've got technique, theory, scales, songwriting, improvising, and enjoying. Rafael says, I think the frustrations will come anyway. It's how to see it in longer perspective. Exactly. Man, I think it's always about trying to see the good in things. We can always learn, we can always see the good and the bad in things. It's our choice. You're absolutely right. So having fun with the guitar is a skill. I can't stress this enough. Enjoy playing music is a skill. We need to cultivate it and spend time with it. So how to do that? End our practice session with just fun stuff. Before putting your instrument down, play your favorite song, jam on a backing track, just let go without being conscious of what you play. Play anything, play nonsense. You can play tap on the guitar for what I care, you know. Play make up, lick, learn a new tune, I don't know. Jam, really have fun. I hope you got the point. Okay, finally, how to plan your practice routine through goal setting. This is finally the last part of the masterclass. Through this exercise, pen and paper needed, or perhaps you can type on your computer anywhere you want. Actually, some of you might want to do this in the chat box. You can do it privately if you don't want to share with everybody, or you can do it publicly. I hope you figured out how to use the chat by now. You can either message me privately, or you can message me so that everybody sees it. So I encourage you to really do this writing exercise. If you don't, there's really no point in you being here. So pen and paper, or on your laptop, or in the chat box. It would be lovely if you could do it in the chat box. But the main thing is that you do it. You know, it's for yourself. So I'm going to give you a minute to sort out your pen and paper, or I'm just going to give you a minute to get ready. And everybody, please, when you're ready, please let me know in the chat box. Type ready in the chat box. One is ready. Mark is ready. Rafael, Mike. Okay. I'm just setting up a timer. Great stuff. I'm going to give you not long for this. I'm going to set up a timer. Don't start just yet. Let me explain the exercise. Write down your long-term goals as a musician, right? So they can be, for example, I want to be a fluent improviser. I want to be, we're not just talking about technical skills on your instrument, we're talking about goals as a musician. So it could even be, I want to get popular on YouTube as a guitarist, you know what I mean? Or it could be, I want to release an album next year. I want to be a great songwriter. I want to learn how to improvise. I want to learn how to play country guitar. I want to be a great jazz musician. So here we're talking about the very long-term goals, yeah? We're not talking about goals that you can learn in a week. So we're not talking about, I want to learn the C major scale. This is not a long-term goal. By long-term goals, I'm thinking, I want to be a great jazz guitarist. I want to tour the world as a guitarist. Really let go uh, don't feel limited by what you think is or is not possible, because there's no limit to what we can achieve as humans. The reason we cannot achieve things is because we tell ourselves that we can't. So I'm going to give you 2 minutes starting, oops, 2 minutes starting now, and go. One minute left. Okay, time's up. All right, some of you wrote one goal, some of you wrote many goals. The idea would be to write down a couple of goals, if possible, 3 or 4 goals. But of course, if you wrote down one, it's perfectly fine for now. And you can always redo this exercise later on. Of course, if we do it now, because we're all in the same group call and because we're all sharing the same energy, then it's a bit more powerful now to do it together. But of course, you know, it's something you can do several times in your life again, and you should do. But I really like how everybody is putting their input, and thank you very much for participating. So let's read some of your long-term goals. Okay, so Mark, I want to be comfortable at soloing, improvising, acoustic mainly, particularly blues, eventually to get good enough to play publicly. Amazing, really good. Mike says not to be so jammed up when I make a mistake when playing in public, not focusing on that aspect of the experience so much. That's a massive one. I understand. Really good. By the way, there is a small trick, which is if you make a mistake, you can do it again. And then it looks like you made it on purpose. But this is another topic. And then what else people said? To be able to play guitar well, first and foremost, and to be able to know why I'm playing what I'm playing. Great. To be able to improvise with my knowledge of guitar and music. Rafael has 3 goals. Very good. I encourage everyone to come up with more goals. Learn how to improvise well, get more musical vocabulary, wider range of styles, jazz, blues, shred, amazing. I want to be able to play my favorite songs on guitar, to let go, and to discover how to relax through creational music. Amazing. This is beautiful. I really enjoy this. Mortimer says, I want to be able to play live gigs with my own songs, including Dao or Do. I'm not sure how you pronounce it. Guitar and singing. Amazing. Basically, are songs I write in the studio and transform for stage performances. Wow. This is amazing. This is a good example of a long-term goal. Now, for people who came up with one goal, I'm going to actually give you another 30 seconds to come up with another goal. Yeah? So at least one more goal. 30 seconds starting now. Okay, time's up. Amazing, beautiful. Thanks, guys. Great stuff. Amazing. So, you guys ready for the next step? Tell me, ready when you're ready? Okay, great stuff. The next step is rate them in terms of desire and put them in order from high to low. This is going to be easier for people who have more than 2 desires, but still, let's do it together. So you learn how to do it on your own later on as well. So you have, this is a very quick one. I'll give you 30 seconds again and go. So rate them in terms of desire from 1 to 10, 10 being the highest desire. Okay, are you guys done? Great stuff. 8, 9, 10. By the way, Hugh, you are messaging me privately, which is perfectly fine if you mean to do that, but just letting you know in case you haven't noticed. Nice, thanks guys, amazing. Now we rated them in terms of desire. So we can move on to the next step. Right, you will work on the first 3 to 5 on the list. Most of you now have about 3 anyways, so that's perfect. Each month, you will set a reminder and go back to that list and re-rate them by desire to make sure you are still working in line with what you want. Because obviously what we want changes all the time. So this is something we need to reassess quite regularly. At least each month, you will sit down again, set a reminder and go back to that list and re-rate them by desire so that you always know what you really want. So the next action is going to be write down the short-term goals that derive from your long-term goals. Okay? So what does this mean? Your short-term goals are what are going to help you reach your long-term goals, right? For example, I'm going to take Mark's list, right? Mark's long-term goals are improvising, playing blues, and playing different styles. So improvising, for example, is the long-term goal, right? So what are the short-term goals that derive from that? Well, they're going to be learn all scales, no? Learn all arpeggios, listen to jazz. These short-term goals can be hundreds. It could be buy a book on improvisation. It could be ask that a particular guitar player to help me out. It could be listen to a particular song that I want to be able to improvise like. Do you get the idea? All the short-term goals that you can think of that derive from your long-term goals. Finish my course. Nice one. Scales, arpeggio. Okay, so don't start yet. I just want everybody to understand what the short-term goals are and what they mean. So for each of your long-term goals, these can be loads. It can be loads of short-term goals. Going back to Mark's long-term goals. Another long-term goals of his is to play the blues. So what can the short-term goals be? Learn the blues scale, and then be able to move the blues scale in every key. Learn all the chord progressions in jazz blues, or blues played in the 50s, or blues played in the 60s. Learn all ways of playing dominant chords, and so on. Do you see how this can go on for ages? So the next exercise, we're going to have 3.5 minutes because it's quite long. Your next action is going to be to, next to each long-term goal, write down your short-term goals, or in other words, they are the actions, short-term actions in each area that are going to help you reach that long-term goal eventually. So you will end up with a bucket of things to practice and work on for each long-term goal. Yeah, so I'll give you 3.5 minutes starting now. One minute almost gone. So we want to list down the short-term goals or short-term actions that for each area, for each long-term goal, that can help us get that long-term goal eventually. Anything that you can think of. Two minutes to go. Make sure you put a lot of focus into this because it's going to be really important. It's really going to make the difference. Two minutes gone. 1 minute 20 to go. 1 minute to go. Time's almost up. Okay, time's up. Okay, Mark came up with a very nice list. 7th arpeggio, work on slide, learn various modes. Great. Play several songs comfortably. Work on improvising these. Raffle, amazing. Wow. Lots of stuff. Hugh is saying, I have just started learning to play, so everything is my goal. Very good. Chord scales, right and left hand versatility. And then here you say, there will be a lot of things I don't even know I need to know. Right. So perhaps one of your short-term goals or short-term actions could be research what I need to practice in order to achieve my goal. Do you see my point? Basically anything that takes you there. Rafa, wow, that's a big bucket of things to do. So amazing. Thank you everybody for your response. Now, how to use this information? At the beginning of each week. So this could be your Sunday evening if you've got a 9 to 5 job Monday to Friday, or it could be anytime. It doesn't have to be Monday morning. That's what I'm trying to say. It can be any time where you can have a minute of peace and really think, sit down and plan the rest of your week, or when you wind down after a week and start thinking about the following week, then you take a minute. It doesn't take long. So at the beginning of each week, you will take one short-term goal from each of the long-term goals, and you will work on it for a week. So I'll repeat that again. At the beginning of each week, you will take one short-term goal or action from each of the long-term goals, and you will work on that for that week. If you only have one long-term goal for now, of course, you can take more short-term goals from that same long-term goal. Then at the beginning of the following week, you can decide to stay on that short-term goal or to move on to another one. So if you see the next slide, your practice schedule will look like this. Long-term goal 1, for example, being a fluent improviser. For that week, I'm gonna work on one action, which is study arpeggios. And then for my second long-term goal, I'm gonna take one action and work on that for that week. Then I repeat, every month, you're gonna reassess what your long-term goals are. Are they still the same? And every week, you will assess, okay, this week I'm gonna be working on these short-term goals. So this is it. For me, this way of planning what to practice is the most effective, because we will never practice everything because there's not enough time to practice everything anyways. But like this, you will know for sure you are working towards your goals. And every time you sit down and practice, you will feel good. You know what I mean? So I hope everybody enjoyed this system, and I hope it helped you. And what I want to talk to you about now before finishing is, what if you had a coach to walk you through the system every time? And what if you had a coach to work on it? Oh, thanks, Ramon, for your input. So there is a long-term goal to find your own style and sound. Think about it. So what if you had a coach to walk you through it and to assist you in it? If you're serious about getting better at playing guitar, your progress will be so much faster with a good guitar teacher. Now imagine this. This is a funny one. Imagine a 14-year-old boy saying he doesn't need to go to school anymore because he thinks he has already learned everything he needs. It sounds crazy, but this is the attitude most of us have towards guitar playing. And there are a lot of people that think, yeah, but Jimi Hendrix or Django Reinhardt was self-taught, so why do I need a teacher? This is true in some cases, but in very few cases. We can't just hope to be the next musical genius of this era. So why take the risk where you can find a good guitar teacher that can point you in the right direction and save you years of learning? A bit like I was mentioning before about asking help about experts. Plus, studies show that when you commit to someone, they will do something, the probability that you will do it increases by 65%. Moreover, when you create a specific accountability appointment with a person you're committed to, the probability increases by 95%. And this is a study led by the American Society of Training and Development. With the right guitar teacher, your progress is going to skyrocket. It's going to make all the difference. I've had teachers all my life, and I still have teachers now. I couldn't do without a teacher, honestly. This is where my program comes in, which I called Online Coaching Intensive. So I have great news. My wife is pregnant, which is amazing news. So in the past, I never had time to teach because I was so busy with gigging and with festivals. So all my teaching was done through online courses. But now, because obviously we're expecting a baby, I decided to spend more time with my wife. So go out less, and I decided to open some more time to private teaching and be more at home and spend time with my wife. So in my online teaching intensive, I personally work with you one-to-one to help you double your guitar skills in improvisation, composition, arranging, music theory, scales, arpeggios, harmony and style. And it's an intensive guitar course of 32 one-hour lessons in 16 weeks, which will be revolutionizing things for you 100%. Over the years, I had so many students. These are just a few reviews. Again, it's going to be a 16 weeks program with 2 one-hour lessons per week. So it's going to be intensive just to skyrocket your guitar playing. It's going to be a total of 32 lessons. The course will run from the 21st of January until the 10th of May, 2020. So this coaching is for guitarists who are serious about progressing on their instrument, both acoustic and electric guitarists. I taught both acoustic and electric guitarists in my life, and I played both acoustic and electric guitar. Beginners with little or no knowledge of music theory, intermediate and advanced guitarists that need help to move to the next level, guitarists who want to learn how to move freely across the fretboard, and people willing to practice, which is where the transformation happens. Of course, it has to come from you, and the commitment has to be in practicing and working hard. What will you accomplish? You will have a clear plan of what you want to achieve as a musician and how to organize your practice time. You can be a confident improviser. You will learn about harmony, arranging, and music theory. You'll learn about composition. You'll learn scales, arpeggios. You'll find your own style and your own voice on your instrument, which is beautiful. So before I reveal the price for my online tuition, let me tell you what's included. So you will have 2 one-hour lessons per week for 16 weeks for a total of 32 one-hour lessons. The value for my normal pricings for this will be $3,997. You will also get some special bonuses. Bonus number 1 is my personal WhatsApp number to get consultations on any questions you might have. Most trainers don't really give the phone number, but your success is my top priority. The value of this is $1,000. This is what I usually give this for. to have unlimited consultations through WhatsApp. Any time of day and night, you have a question, you shoot it, and I reply to you with a video, with a picture of a chart or a tab. Special bonus 2, I will give you my template of 82 detailed steps to take to release your own album. In 2018, I released my own album. I thought it was going to be just a few steps, but it worked out to be 2 years of hard work. I kept this template, I compiled it in a very nice PDF, and you will get all the steps to take to release your own album. Now imagine how beautiful it is to release your album one day and to be able to say, I released an album. That is beautiful. Bonus number 3, last year, in order to be able to release my album, I raised £4,367 British pounds with Kickstarter, which is a pledge platform. So I will show you all the steps to run a successful Kickstarter campaign so that you don't have to come up with your own money in advance to release your album when you decide to release it. This is valued at $1,500. And as some of you might know, actually, some of you are here on this masterclass is exactly because you already are my Udemy students. I have an online course on Udemy called Learn How to Improvise on Guitar in 30 Days. It's 36 lectures and 6 hours of video that guide you through the improvisation and theory improvisation and practice you need to be able to create beautiful solos on the spot. So, for those of you who are not enrolled in this course yet, I will give you 4 coupons to get lifetime access on my Udemy course for yourself and to give to your friends and family. And for those of you who are already enrolled in this course, I will give you lifetime access to all my future courses on Udemy. So this bonus will give you all my future bonus Udemy courses for free and lifetime access to them as well. Last special bonus, I want you to learn from me and put what you learn to good use. I will help you compose the whole song and I will record the guitar part of you. And the value for this, I don't know, this as you can't really calculate this. People charge huge amounts of money to write and record for you. So is the total value of what I'm offering here for $8,000? Say I'm gonna cut it in half, it'd be $4,000, which is still, I would be like, okay, yes, it's still quite a lot, but don't worry, I won't charge you that. For today, I'll charge for this whole thing $1,997 for 32 hours of lessons and 5 amazing bonuses just for today. I can only offer 2 spots. After running this course, I don't know whether I will ever do it again. Of course, unless my wife gets pregnant again, which I don't know about. I will also offer money back guarantee, 100% money back guarantee. So if after our first lesson, you or I realize we're not a good teacher-student match, then I'll refund you 100% of the money. Although obviously I would expect you to be genuine about it, because I'm committing my time to you as well. I do this to make sure we're both happy as a teacher and student. So this is a recap of what you'll get. For $1,997 instead of $8,000. You also have the options of just doing 4 lessons to try it out, but no bonuses for $297. But regardless of the package that you choose, you cannot enroll now. If you're interested in what I'm offering, you can book a free 30-minute Skype lesson with me so that I can assess whether we are a good student-teacher match. So if during our Skype call I reject to start the lessons with me, please don't be upset. But when you sign up with me, all I care for is your results as a guitar player. So I have to make sure that we're a good match and that we can achieve both really good results and have a good relationship student to teacher. So this is a link to book your 30-minute Skype lesson. So let me paste that in the chat box. There you go. So you can go on there, book your free 30-minute Skype lesson with me. We'll have a 30-minute class, and then we will talk about your goals and how to achieve them, and I'll probably show you a couple of cool tricks on the guitar. And you book your lesson here, and then we can see whether we can work together or not, and we can take it from there. And now the masterclass is done. I'm going to stay on for a few minutes for any Q&A. If you've got any questions, you can type in private as well in the chat box. And I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you again for being so amazing and participating and putting your answers in the chat box. I really enjoyed it, and it was amazing to meet you all. So I'm going to stay on for some Q&A. Please let me know if you have any questions. Thanks, Mark. Thank you. Thank you, Rafael. So feel free to go on that link and book your Skype lesson. It's going to be 100% free and with no commitment on your side.